Hey everyone, welcome to UHC's Thursday. I'm Stephen, moderator of today. Wait, did I mute myself first while people are speaking? With the mute button.
I can't find it. Oh,
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone. I'm Donovan McLean. I will be the moderator of today's Therapy Thursday session. I work with Heart Smiles on different project, John Hopkins, and obviously Urban Health Media Project. So now we'll get into introductions of our guests. Wait, also, I go by he, they pronouns. Now we can get to introduction of our guests. Could you go, Matthew?
Hi, my name is Matthew. I am a BPS student, and I go by he, him pronouns.
Mr. Ballard.
Hey, so good evening, everybody. My name's James Ballard, Dr. Ballard, and he, him. School psychologist
hi all.
and clinical psychologist. Sorry.
Hi all. My name is Dr. Claire Agard. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a school psychologist and neuropsychologist.
Okay, Matthew, where do you go to school?
I go to school at Boston Arts Academy.
Okay, I'm going to do a reintroduction of myself because it was kind of choppy the first time. Hey everyone, I'm Donovan, tonight's Therapy Thursday moderator. I'm a sophomore attending the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, and I work with Urban Health Media Project, Heart Smiles, and the Youth Community Advisory Board with John Hopkins. So now we'll get into the questions. The first question of today is, how has the pandemic impacted students' mental health directly or indirectly? I would like Matthew to go first, and then we'll do Mr. Ballard, then Dr. Agard.
How it really impacted a lot of students, including myself, is it did open a lot of talks about mental health, too, especially in my community, along with it kind of caused a lot of people to go through a lot of things that, we wouldn't go through otherwise, especially with circumstances, changes in circumstances. Many people that I know got F's for the first time, and it kind of shows that the pandemic, there people who are going forward can't be really. I can say that they should be defined by their pasts because the pandemic changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and it's mental health wise. A lot of people are still going through it, even though we're not virtual anymore. They're still feeling the effects of it.
Can everyone see and hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so now Dr. Ballard, is it Ballard or Ballard? Wait, could you unmute yourself? You're muted.
Appreciate that. So the impact has been it's been definite and serious. And I like how you worded the question, directly and indirectly. I mean, we've seen an increase in students' need or desire for mental health services, behavioral health services, mental being, the therapeutic support for, the discomfort through the mind, like anything from anxiety to depression and behavioral health speaking to substances and substance use. So we've seen increases in substance use and abuse. We've seen increases in folks, young people's perceptions of how they feel. You know, depression has increased, anxiety has increased, and within all of that, or through all of that, there have been interpersonal challenges. Interpersonal conflict has increased and improved. People have become more isolated personally, and again, these are the things that directly impacted young people because of the public health, the steps that have been taken to maintain or were taken to maintain public health, like folks having to be isolated and staying at home, social distancing and such. Those kinds of things, they just took away the more natural that we have of connect.
Did you already share your response?
Pardon?
Did you already share your response?
I wasn't finished, but that's okay.
Okay. I guess we'll move on to the next question. The next question is, what are some changes schools can implement to ensure students' mental health is prioritized? Did you go first?
I think
I'll
what
go.
schools can.
No.
I think what schools can implement is definitely more services to cater to what kids need, especially since not every school is going to have the necessary amount of staff and basically services that are needed, because in my school, like personally, we have a lot of kids who go to health and wellness like every day now because of their time over quarantine and basically just not having not finally finding the support that they didn't get over the quarantine. So I feel that implementing like more resources and more ways to get certain resources that is needed, because a lot of kids they need like a lot of help. And it's not like they need help like they're weird, it's more of like they need help but they can't find it, or they don't find confidence in the systems that are already there, that they need more help. They need I would say on a higher level of help, more of but they thing that's holding them back from getting that through their own way, or just not knowing how to get it at all. So I really feel that if schools could have a direct link to getting past what they already give, then a lot of students can get what they need instead of what is necessarily there. Like they have less constraint.
Okay, I totally agree. Dr. Agard, you may go now. You're muted.
In education and mental health, there are programs referred to as trauma-informed education. And all it means is that classroom teachers are sensitive to the fact that the students have gone through a trauma, that it's likely to affect everything about them, their behavior, ability to learn, physical health, and all of that. And I think it would be great if every school could take that approach, because that sensitivity causes teachers to monitor the way they speak to children, they watch their tone, they encourage the students to talk about their feelings, they teach them to understand and to others' feelings, needs, and be able to take the perspectives of others. And so students benefit from that kind of thing. Another thing that would be good is starting every day with, some kind of relaxation exercise, like a breathing exercise, or starting with some kind of positive exercise. It may take 5 or 10 minutes, but it just sets the tone for the day. And in some high schools, there are a lot of suspensions, and I think that's something, knowing that these kids have been traumatized, that their behavior may change. I think suspension would be the last thing you'd want to do if you see an infraction, and more like what's called restorative justice. You give them something to do at school. They may help to file or cleaning lockers or something, but just the sensitivity and not be as punitive as they'd normally be. And lastly, provide more academic help and support.
And I totally agree. The warm-up idea is amazing. Dr. Ballard, can you go?
Yeah, yes, indeed. I would go in the directions that were actually already stated, and other things similar things, but other things that pop in mind are to make sure that there are check-ins, that there are regular check-ins with the students, and with that both students and teachers, all staff, are trained to understand, the signs and the symptoms to some degree, of mental health issues and or needs, so that everyone can be aware and alert, one, to their own needs and how they're feeling and how they're presenting, but then also be able to eyeball up, their peers, other students, the staff, pay attention to the students, so that everybody knows what wellness looks like and what the quiet or the loud calls for help look like. Because I've noted that there's some students who have come back to school and they have plugged in and connected well, and so their grades are strong, but there are other students who performed well academically historically, pre-COVID and during COVID even, but who are having trouble academically now. That may not be, a lack of effort. That's likely a quiet, cry for help. So just having staff trained, have students trained, and they're not clinicians who are diagnosing. They're just folks who are moving with other people in the school and paying attention, but using that eye for help. Also, even having a location that's more specific for wellness. In our schools, we have a wellness area, specifically a wellness suite where students can go. And just passing word throughout the school to make sure that teachers know that, hey, sometimes, James is going to need a minute, and, don't get in his way. Understand that he's going to go see Dr. Agar down in the wellness suite. He's going to chill out for a little bit, get things back together again, and then go back up to the class. And then there's another piece which I think is important, and we're probably going to walk in this direction even more. It has to do with the parents and making sure the parents understand as well, because even though we're not in the homes and the parents aren't consistently in the schools, if you will, we play off of each other so consistently, that they also have to understand that the effort, the level of effort, the degree of effort that they once saw may be challenged a bit right now, and how to parent in a supportive way during this time when everybody is thawing from COVID. Everybody is, getting their faculties back online and getting themselves balanced once again. So connecting with parents as well and making sure they understand and that their expectations are shifted and changed based on a real understanding of mental health.
A couple of other things I wanted to mention. I also think it's important for classroom teachers to have like a structured and predictable learning environment, because predictability helps to relieve anxiety.
Nice.
And so the students would benefit from that. And lastly, it's also important that school staff engage in their own self-care, because they've got to take care of themselves before they take care of others. They need to learn ways to calm themselves down, because there are things students may do that may trigger them, and so they need to know how to calm themselves down, take a breath before reacting. kinds of things.
And I totally agree with that. Self-care is the best care. Now we'll be moving on to question 3. Why do you
Mhm.
think there's stigma surrounding student mental health? And what can be done to eliminate the stigma?
I think why there's so much stigma is because a lot of times they don't see us as like having problems, and they don't really see us as like someone. They see us as like children because with kids, a lot of times kids, they don't, the things that they care about aren't really like serious. They don't. A lot of times, people don't see children, just kids in general, teenagers, elementary school, middle schoolers. They don't see them as more than that, and because of that, there's a stigma that they don't really need that because oh, they're perfectly fine. Oh, they do that sometimes. That's why a lot of kids that I know are afraid of therapy and just getting self-care and all this stuff because they feel that they that they're the reason that they have the problems that they're having, and like that the things that they're going through aren't valid. So a lot of times, like especially when I was in elementary school and middle school, I'm one of those unfortunate kids that got basically, I would say, bullied because I was in a different mental state than everybody else. I got bullied by teachers, and so basically because of that, I personally now have anxiety when it comes to education, and because of that, I feel that eliminating that stigma is one of the like highest priorities when it comes to like uh just education, mental health in schools, and especially now, that stigma is, I would say, one of the biggest roadblocks because I feel that just because uh you could be younger, you could be a teenager, just because they're under the age of 18, or they don't have any quote unquote real problems, doesn't mean that and nothing affects them. And I feel the best way of eliminating that is kind of bringing in understanding to teachers, staff, other students as well, that the individual person has their different experiences, and because of those different experiences, they are going to react in different ways. Nobody's the same. Nobody's gonna like me. No one's gonna just fall down and get back up. Some people will stay down for the longest time, and I feel and be unable to get the help that they need to get back up. So it's uh the stigma is a huge roadblock that needs to be eliminated, because it's honestly I feel it's not fair to the kids who need help and feel that there's something wrong with them because they're the reasons why they're feeling like that is quote unquote not valid. So yeah.
And I think it's very important when it comes to the topic of mental health, there's this sense of people being inferior or weaker just because they have these mental health issues. So yeah, I definitely agree. Dr. Ballard, could you go?
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate what was just shared, and thank you for sharing that. It is definitely about someone having a distinguishing characteristic, and then because of that characteristic, people, judging them. And it is judgment in that judgment period is challenging, but judgment for those reasons has been horrific for us as since humanity began, judging people for specific characteristics. It's, as we know, wellness is a human thing. Mental health is a human thing. So it's something that we all manage, whether we're conscious of it or not. It's something that we're all constantly managing. And there is a perception with anything that's perceived to be that kind of a difference, typically that it can be a negative thing. And because it can be challenging in, say, the academic realm, It can impact performance because it can impact, depending on what a person may be coping with, depression, anxiety. I'm just sticking with those two. Generally, it can impact focus and concentration and attention, and therefore impact grades in the classroom. It could make me want to move away from people. My mental health needs may make me want to move away from folks and not go out as much and not connect or be on teams and just want to listen to my ear pods and stick to myself because that's different. And or because I have some challenges in the classroom, I then stand out for those reasons again and perceived to be different, and those kinds of things are perceived as hurdles or hangups for me in society because we have this perception of how people are supposed to be living, how people are supposed to be moving, and so we have this expectation of how young people are supposed to grow. As was said, and which is why I really appreciate it, we are all unique and beautifully, wonderfully designed as we are. And so it's a matter of embracing every student as they present and not looking at them against other individuals. It's really also, again, about passing the word of what wellness really is, what mental health really is to people and becoming more knowledgeable in a functional way. And also, I would say things like you mentioned, I don't know if you went into the elimination aspect of things, but just working, volunteering, connecting with agencies, entities, organizations in the community that work with and support people coping with mental health. Because it normalizes wellness, it normalizes health. I have two children who cope with depression, and so it has been a part of our lives since day one. And the love is the same. The expectations about treating people with respect and honor is the same. Taking time out, the whole wellness piece for them and for us is the same. There's really nothing different. It's just they tweak their wellness based on how they present. I tweak my wellness based on how I present. And so it's really, I think about knowledge and knowledge gained not just through books and movies and films and such, but really interacting with people and embracing people as they are and as they present.
I love that response. And I also believe there needs to be an elimination of judgment and that people need to see everyone as the same, no matter how unique they are.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Agard, may you go?
I think the stigma exists because of ignorance, fear, because we tend to fear what we don't know, and inaccurate or misleading representation of mentally ill individuals. Even in the media, there may be a movie about somebody with depression, and the way it's shown, it's nothing like real depression. Or you hear there may be somebody that's got schizophrenia, and rather than showing what schizophrenia really looks like, they're showing somebody that's got multiple personalities. The media is very misleading when it comes to mental illness. I think that's a part of it. And then there's also what I'd refer to as institutional stigma. And what I mean, like, for instance, the government puts less money into research for mental health than they do into physical illness. So that's institutional. Another thing is mental health practitioners are paid much less than physicians, even though their training may have been much longer and they tend to spend more time with their clients. So to me, that's institutionalized stigma. And how can it be reduced? Speaking openly about mental illness without shame, educating yourself, educating others. Be aware of your language when you're talking about somebody who is mentally ill. Can I think of anything else? Dr. Ballard said normalizing. I think he said wellness. I say normalizing mental health treatment. You know, you take medication if you've got diabetes or a heart problem. Well, it's the same thing. You take medication if you're mentally ill. And if we really want to look at what mental illness really is, it's also physical because it's based in the brain. Brain is the part of your body, you know, so we could also look at it that way. And I think those kinds of things would help to lessen the stigma over time. It's not going to happen overnight. It'll take time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there needs to be a lot of education because some people don't take mental illness as an actual illness because it isn't something you can physically see. So I agree.
That's true.
Um, we have a comment in the chat. This is from a youth via Heart Smiles. I had someone I know commit suicide this year, and it would have meant so much if there was something that could have prevented that. To this day, I still wish I could have helped. Do you have any advice for them?
As someone, I had my a cousin commit suicide, and even myself, I understand the feeling that he could have helped, and yes, to some point, but at the end of the day, you know, you can't bring him back. So I feel that there has to be an acceptance that you didn't know, you know, and you didn't know what was going on, and you know, you shouldn't blame yourself because it's kind of hard to say, just to get what I'm trying to get across, but you shouldn't blame yourself for an action, even though you know you could have done something. And let me try. So you know that you could have done something, but but you didn't know, and with the lack of information, it hurts, yes, and it's hard, but you have to push forward and kind of work hard. Like I say, like, try to be there and work harder to be there for others as well, and try to realize and look at other people when people might need somebody. You know, if someone's alone, like standing in a corner, and they've been doing that for days, or they're sitting at a lunch table by themselves, you know, go over. You don't just going over could, you know, make their day, make their entire year. That's what, like, it's really just keep an eye out, and you know, look. It's important to look around you, because especially like if you're a teenager, uh, you don't really realize what's around you because you know you're in your own group. You know, you're focusing on your own group, and there's a bunch of other people, and there's a bunch of like other kids who are just, you know, who are very interesting, and you know, could be going through something, who need support. And you know, a lot of times they get ignored because, you know, there's this kind of group, you know, gang, I would say, like uh gang, not like gang violence, but like, you know, a gang of pals, you know. There's like this crew mentality, yeah.
Did you want us to chime in? I just thought that was a powerful response and very real. And I mean, suicide is really painful and really challenging and really troubling. I mean, on so many levels. And you know, one might say that the root of it may have been depression, which is, you know, has this insidious kind of development to it. You know, like it moves slowly and can get stronger and moves, you know, and you may not necessarily see it. And then you think you see pieces of it, like a person pulls away, like you just said, that, you know, people may be in a corner, maybe separating themselves, they move, they might not laugh at every joke, and they may tell you things, but they may not tell you things. That's why I absolutely agree that we are observant, that we are trained to some degree with an understanding of how these conditions present themselves in people, and so that we're alert and we can check in with people, because sometimes people won't let you know verbally. They may just let you know behaviorally. You may just feel it based on what you see as an expression of their feelings or an expression of their thoughts. And also you touched on it's a concept called survival guilt. There's just feeling, and then there are all kinds of a number of schools of thought that talk about how we respond to the death of anyone, but the death of someone close to us, and guilt with regard to that, thinking about it, thinking, hey, maybe I could have done something, there's something I could have seen, somehow I could have stepped in. It's a common and a natural mindset or a way of visiting what happened. It's common. It happens very frequently. Other elements, anger, trying to bargain with it to some degree in ways. Had I done this, maybe things would have been different. The shock of it. I'm throwing those out to say that there are a variety of ways that we respond that researchers and theorists and folks who practice in the field of loss say that are just natural to human beings. So it makes sense. But being observant, talking when other people can't talk, believing people when they say that something is happening with them, not brushing it off, understanding the resources in any given community, because there are a lot of resources, especially in the District of Columbia. DC is resource rich. So you can definitely, if you know those resources, then you can do what you can to help connect someone. Sometimes you can call and get information and share that information with a person. I know I'm talking a lot, but it's just, this is also something that's very close to my heart as well, because I've had folks I've been close to who have made the choice to act on suicide as well. And also monitoring yourself. I think we've touched this several times with each of these questions. I think Dr. Agard said it. It's a matter of making sure that we're focusing on, it's a reminder to focus on our own health and balance as well.
I definitely agree. What you said was truly valuable. We're running close on time, but we have 2 questions left. We'll answer before we leave. How are things different at school for students socially, and how can they make up for the social growth they miss? Go.
Who? I'm sorry, so who?
Oh, Dr. Agard?
How are things different socially? On the surface, it looks like things are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing looks any different, but when you speak to the students one-on-one, there is this constant worry at the back of their mind, because everybody's still worried about catching COVID. Some of them have family members who have died. So there's that constant worry. So while the onlooker may think they're fine socially, most of them aren't. Of course, there are going to be the few that are fine, but the majority of them have got this chronic worry because of the pandemic that we're still in. And I think where that's going to be evident, and it's going to take, the sensitive teachers to realize that, you're going to find that they're going to have difficulty concentrating. You'll find grades may fall. So there's a variety of things. So, but on the surface, they all look the same.
I totally agree. I think it's more of getting to know someone instead of just having an idea of what you know about them from what you see. Okay.
You know what I'm finding? If I can throw them very quickly, we're also finding that there was interaction during COVID. And so now that we're back in school, some of the fallout for those interactions are being played out in the school, because there was interaction, but text messaging and so on and so forth, which allowed for, and texts and such doesn't always allow for the most meaningful communication. But now folks are back in the environment face to face, so we're finding that there's some level setting, some adjustments going on, and that has been challenging for people. And just bringing the solution for that is the idea is bringing people to the table and actually sitting with each other and talking about trying to reach common ground. They thought they had reached common ground, but face to face, they're finding that wasn't necessarily the case, so they're working on it now.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone should, and they should be able to have that kind of stuff. Okay, I want to say sorry for all the technical difficulties, and thank you for everyone who came out and took the time out of their day to join this conversation. And also, a big thank you to the guests who decided to be a part of this.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So now we'll go. Bye.
Okay.